Switching gears to the USMNT, obviously we talked about the World Cup hopes there. What do you think they can achieve if they do qualify for the 2022 World Cup? Because I think we've all got our mind on obviously the Mexico game coming up and the final qualifiers, but there's almost for this young group, right? 2022 is the first goal, and then 2026 it seems is the main target. We really want to do well there, but what do you think they can achieve if they do make it to 2022, DaMarcus?
I mean, obviously the smart way to start this is that it depends on who they get in their group. Sure. I mean, to be honest, it does, you know, that means a lot, you know. But I think they can do well, you know, and I kind of combine that with how we were in 2002. And in 98, the U.S. team finished dead last. You know, no one were thinking that we're going to do anything in the 2002 World Cup. You know, a lot of teams and even the media, you know, just kind of wrote us off. So there was no pressure on us. There was nothing to lose. We just went out there and played. You know, I think we had a really, really good squad. Don't get me wrong, but you know, playing against Figo and Conceição and Rui Costa that first game, I think people knew that we were there to win and to really put our mark in world football. So I think it can kind of be that same, you know, teams kind of taking them lightly and they know who they play for, but still, you know, still USA. And I think until we kind of, you know, have that consistency where we're competing at World Cups and getting to quarterfinals every World Cup, it's going to be that way. So I think, you know, I think they can surprise some people in 2022, and a lot of it is because we didn't qualify in 2018. So, you know, once they get to Qatar or Qatar, however you guys want to say it, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
DaMarcus, I go back to your team in the tournament you talked about, because for me, that took me from, man, I'd really like the U.S. to do well, to look what we can do. My expectations are raised. I mean, beating Mexico on a stage so big, and so it was such a profound moment for me that I went from, man, I can't wait to see how the U.S. does, and then, you know, I hope Italy wins the World Cup too. It dares you to dream. It opens doors for you. And to be sitting here 20 years later, and, you know, credit to guys like you and Claudio Reyna for making those initial treks, and like every goalkeeper in American history who opened ourselves up to the pool. But now you look, and it's a whole darn team. I mean, there are guys, there's an 11. You can make an argument for that. There's a list of 11 players left off that might qualify. You know, like that's how deep it is. So what is the talent pool combined with the expectations your teams achieve done to tell you and inform you about 2022 and 2026 even?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The talent that we have right now is crazy. You know, we haven't had that amount of talent at once in the national team. It hasn't happened. Yeah, we've had some great players. Still some of the best, you know, top 5 players back in the day of all time. But to have it in abundance, you know, that's different. You know, and it's like I said, it's great to be a fan and see these kids grow and to you know, see them week in and week out at their clubs. But when they come back to the national team, you're starting to see now they understand what it means to play for your country. And that's great. That's great to see, because sometimes it's not always about football. You got to have that bite, that extra, you know, extra passion you have for playing for your country. And I think they have that. So, yeah, man, it's great to see. I'm really excited to see what they can do now and in the future. But you know, it's great. I missed them. They're here in Houston training. You know, they're training at the Houston Dynamo sports park. I didn't get a chance to see him, but yeah, you see, like the U.S. national team's already in Houston, so I think it's a sign. Yeah. They train here in Houston before Mexico. We hope we can get them in for the World Cup in 2026. It all can come together. It all can come together.
Yeah, we're a few days to U.S. Mexico. You know, what can you say about U.S. Mexico, DaMarcus, that hasn't been said, I guess, already a million times before? Or maybe something, I guess, that just sticks out in your mind? Because for me, anytime I think of it, I think immediately back again to 2002 and that World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to say, man, to be honest. You guys have seen the games. You've seen the players that came through on both sides. You know, sometimes there's not a lot of football being played. That's what it is. You know, sometimes you got to grind out wins. But Azteca, that's a different beast. I'll be honest. But I think with that, these young, if you look at the team, these young players, they don't have no fear. They have zero fear. Doesn't matter where they're playing or who they're playing against. They'll know they're playing in Mexico, but at the same time, they're going to go out there to try to win the game. And I'll be honest, it hasn't always been that way. We want to get a draw, kind of, park the bus a bit and let them come and absorb pressure and hit them on a counterattack. But I think now, with Greg and how he wants to play, like I said, honestly, I think they know they're playing in Mexico. They know it'll be tough that first 20 minutes when you can't breathe because of the altitude. But after that, if they can weather that storm, I think they can really play some good football and, create some good chances. And you never know. But, there's not much to be said, more with the rivalry USA-Mexico. We hope for a win and hopefully they can get one Thursday.
DaMarcus, as the only player on the men's national team to play at 4 different World Cups, have you got any favorite moments, mate, in terms of qualifying for one, or maybe CONCACAF and how that worked out over the years qualifying, or maybe just the tournament itself, something that really stood out to you and maybe a great story?
Yeah, from the first World Cup is my best memory. Being the youngest player, I remember walking in the tunnel, and over to my right, there's Luis Figo. I'm like, where am I right now? I was literally thinking, but for me, that was one of my best moments of my life. Representing your country at a World Cup, and then winning, obviously. That was the icing on the cake. But for me, that was my best memory. It wasn't a goal. It wasn't, something crazy. It was just literally standing there in that tunnel, knowing I'm about to walk out into a World Cup match. It's truly incredible for kids that they dream and want to be a professional soccer player. That's our mecca. That's our ticket. So to be able to do that at that age was truly incredible.
And DaMarcus, switching gears to your European career, and you came over here to the UK and obviously elsewhere in Europe to play. That was incredible to see you do it at PSV, Rangers, Manchester City. You're the second highest American goal scorer in Champions League history. We could go on and on with these records, mate. You've got so many stacked up. What do you think about those clubs, your former clubs, how well they're doing in Europe, some of them? Because yes, they're having a good season, right? They're all still in European.
They're all still in Europe. PSV, except for Hanover, but yeah, PSV, Man City, and Rangers. They're all still in it. They're actually all playing really good football at the moment. But yeah, I watch all of them. I'm still a fan of those teams. I still have a couple of friends there as well in each city. But yeah, I love my time in Europe. When I was in Chicago, I knew they knew that I wanted to play in Europe and test myself and try to make it as a professional footballer in Europe. That was my goal, and I got to live it for a while. But yeah, I enjoyed my time. Yeah, I know sometimes I didn't play as much as I wanted to, injuries, out of form, but you can never take away the memories that I have from the people I've met and from the games that I played in. Those times in my career were truly special.
It's like in some cases, like you targeted some of the best rivalries you could possibly play for too. Because, in looking and getting ready, I'm like, wow, great record against Ajax. Like played in a Manchester derby against Ronaldo and Scholes and Giggs and Ferdinand. That's the whole, right. And then obviously Celtic Rangers is maybe my favorite rivalry in the world. So I always wonder with guys like yourself who are in demand and they wind up on multiple of those clubs, do you end up feeling the same kind of hatred for the rivals? Like, do you carry that with you when you're watching Man United or Celtic?
Yeah.
You're like, I hope those bums lose.
Yeah, 100%. I still do. I don't watch. I mean, with all due respect to Celtic, obviously, but I don't watch Celtic. Every once in a while, I'll tweet something about Rangers. There's a couple of Celtic fans in my mentions, and trying to get me riled up about something. It happens. It comes with the territory. But yes, I have. I wouldn't say hate, but I strongly dislike any of those other teams. when it comes to rivalries and derbies. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm the first one to watch, when Man City plays Man U or Rangers play Celtics, something like that. And it's the same with USA Mexico. Same. I played in Mexico for 3 years. And I've made a lot of met and still have a lot of amazing friends, from my time in Puebla. But when it's USA Mexico, there's my daughter was born in Mexico. So, but there's no love for me when the USA plays Mexico. Not even a little bit. But I think about that now that I'm talking about Mexico, USA. We're talking about the World. Like, how great would it be for USA to play Mexico in Houston?
You are on message.
I'm serious. I love it. How great would that be? I mean,
that would be incredible.
It'd be incredible. I mean, the Hispanic culture here in Houston is real. It's a lot. I mean, I think with the signing, you mentioned it earlier with Ache, with him coming in the summer, like I said, they're slowly piecing the pieces together, get back to their, what they were founded and built on in 2005, 2006. So the culture here and the Hispanic culture is huge. And I think if that game was played in NRG in Houston in 2026, that would be a phenomenal atmosphere.
It really would be. It'd be like everything coming together, right, to celebrate soccer in the US. And so, as we said earlier, how far it's come over the last 20, 30 years since you started playing and since MLS started. And now look at us now. It's, the World Cup's coming back around, and it's going to be really interesting. DaMarcus, wanted to ask you, as a part owner of Fort Wayne, in your hometown, you're obviously very invested in all levels of the American soccer pyramid. And what is your dream for the future of this sport in the USA? I mean, looking to the 2026 World Cup and beyond it as well, what kind of legacy would you hope that's left, and perhaps that you've left in the game as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. For me, with my club in Fort Wayne, and it's special to me, obviously, because I'm from Fort Wayne, and it's a new club. We're trying to build something, special, something real. We want to be involved, and we want to be a club that say that we were a part of one day winning a World Cup. That's what this is. We want to develop players. We want players to inspire to play in a World Cup and to win a World Cup, and I do think it'll happen. But it takes all of us. It takes the little Fort Waynes, teams in Albuquerque or everywhere, California and Pittsburgh. It doesn't matter where, to develop these kids in the right way and in the mindset that hopefully one day we can lift a World Cup together. And I think for me, and what I do in Fort Wayne is not just about the dollar bill. I want to make sure we're opening up soccer, football, to everyone. I want this sport to be enjoyable to everyone. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like. That for me would be incredibly special. If I can do a little bit of that here and sprinkle that around, I think that would be something remarkable from Fort Wayne FC.
It truly would. And I just want to say on behalf of all of us, thanks so much for being our first ever guest.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for all the remarkable work you're doing at all levels of soccer in the US. We're huge fans of yours. We loved watching you play. We love what you're doing now, DaMarcus. And it's been a true honor. So please join us again soon.
For sure. Thank you. Love being on.
All right. Amazing. Okay, well, DaMarcus Beasley is clearly the nicest bloke in the game, and we could talk to him all day long. And he'll definitely be joining us again soon. So that was so much fun having a absolute US men's national team legend joining us to talk all things World Cup qualifying, the bid in 2026, and pretty much everything else. What a great guy.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.